much ever happened to me.
Hi friends. All right, so we are going into part 2 of our Faith It Till You Make It series. Last week we looked at Hebrews chapter 11 verses 1 through 16. This week we're going to take a look at Hebrews chapter 11 verses 17 through 29. And then our last and final series, I know it sucks, is going to be part 3, and that's Hebrews chapter 11 verses 30 through 40. But before I begin, I definitely want to thank everyone who reached out to me. Thank you for your words of encouragement. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for, just all voices of input. I love it. I love encouragement. I love encouraging others. And so I just want to thank you and God bless you. All right. So this part is going to be definitely extremely identical to the last. I'm going to read through the verses, and then I have a couple of points to make, and then some words of encouragement, and then I'll send you off to enjoy your week. All right, so we're starting at verse 17, and I'm coming again from New Living Translation. So if you have another translation, definitely continue to follow along, and let's get it. All right, so verse 17. It was by faith that Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice when God was testing him. Abraham, who had received God's promises, was ready to sacrifice his only son Isaac, even though God had told him, "Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted." Abraham reasoned that if Isaac died, God was able to bring him back to life again, and in a sense, Abraham did receive his son back from the dead. It was by faith that Isaac promised blessings for the future to his sons Jacob and Esau. It was by faith that Jacob, when he was old and dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and bowed in worship as he leaned on his staff. It was by faith that Joseph, when he was about to die, said confidently that the people of Israel would leave Egypt. He even commanded them to take his bones with them when they left. It was by faith that Moses' parents hid him for 3 months when he was born. They saw that God had given them an unusual child, and they were not afraid to disobey the king's command. It was by faith that Moses, when he grew up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to share the oppression of God's people instead of enjoying the fleeting pleasures of sin. He thought it was better to suffer for the sake of Christ than to own the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking ahead to his great reward. It was by faith that Moses left the land of Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. It was by faith that Moses commanded the people of Israel to keep the Passover and to sprinkle blood on the doorpost so that the angel of death would not kill their firstborn sons. It was by faith that the people of Israel went right through the Red Sea as though they were on dry ground. But when the Egyptians tried to follow, they were all drowned. Wow. I just think this is so amazing. Like, can y'all feel why I'm so excited about Hebrews chapter 11? Like, you can just read it just like every day. If you just like wake up and you're like, man, this sucks. Life sucks. Oh, life sucks. Just read Hebrews 11. You be like, man, like this is crazy. But anyway, to stay on task, a couple points that I want to bring up. Abraham and Sarah, hopefully you all are familiar with the story of Abraham and Sarah, and I don't have a lot of time to go into it, but maybe I'll do a video on it. But Abraham and Sarah, when they had Isaac, they were like, I'm sorry, anybody who's watching that season, they were like so old, yo. Like, I think Sarah was like 89 or 90, and Abraham was like 100 years old, and this is like years old, and they were holding on to a promise that God was going to give them a son. Can you imagine? I can't imagine being like, like late 30, you know what I'm saying? Like 80, but God delivered on his promise. God is able to do things that are just beyond our imagination, like stuff that don't even make sense to us. That's why God is so good. That's why he is God, because stuff that he does not make sense to our minds. You know what I'm saying? But, man, like they were just so faithful. You know what I'm saying? Like they trusted God. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure they went through seasons of doubt and unbelief and not really knowing if God was going to come through. You know what I'm saying? But man, what does that look like? When we realize that God is not hindered by our time constraints, if you're going through a season right now where you feel like God promised you something and you feel like it should have happened by now, just, encourage yourself that God is not tied down by our time constraints. Even though we think that we should be somewhere by a certain age or what have you, God's not tied, he's not tied to that. That's on you and that's on me. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's important to see that in Abraham and Sarah's story, how God delivered on that promise to them. I'm sure there were hard times and there were difficult times, but God delivered on that. God had promised Abraham that through Isaac, there were going to be descendant after descendant after descendant. You know what I'm saying? And God delivered. And I think another point to highlight in their story was how faithful Abraham was. Now, here you go. You just had this kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been waiting all this time for, and then God, the God that you've trusted all this time is now saying, well, now you need to sacrifice him. Now you need to kill him. You know what I'm saying? And what Abraham didn't realize was that his faith was being tested, which he passed, because he trusted God enough, to go forward with it. He was going to kill his son, because he trusted God enough. As a matter of fact, in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 19, it said, Abraham reasoned that if Isaac died, God was able to bring him back to life again. I mean, that's faith, man, and that's the kind of faith that God is calling us to have. I'm not saying that God is calling you to sacrifice your child, but what I'm saying is we use, those examples of faith to kind of structure what our faith should look like. That faith, that unflinching faith to say, okay, I feel so strongly about this that God is telling me this. You need to move forward with that thing. That's what Abraham did. And then you get into Moses, man. Moses' mama, you know what I'm saying? Like her mom, his mom was a G. Moses' mama was like the G of all G's. Like seriously, like she not only did she say, forget Pharaoh, I ain't killing my baby. There's something special about my baby. Now think about Moses' mama. The word says that they saw that God had given them an unusual child. What did that remind you of? Mary, the mother of Jesus, knew that there was something special about her son. Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist, knew that there was something special about her son. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that everybody's child ain't special. Okay. But Moses' mom saw that her son was so special that she chose to not move forward with what Pharaoh wanted to do, which was he wanted to kill all the boys that were born, all the little Israelite boys. She hid him for 3 months. Then she weaved a basket. She put him in a basket and set him on the Nile River. She had no idea where her son was going to end up. But because of her faithfulness, her son ended up, in Pharaoh's family, adopted into Pharaoh's family. So then, this is crazy. So then Moses grew up to say, listen, Pharaoh, your daughter, yeah, I know that y'all adopted me physically into your family, but I have an adoption over here that's much greater, where the benefits are much greater than what you could offer me. So I appreciate that, but I'm gonna slide to this side. You know what I'm saying? How crazy is that? How crazy is that? How often do we what's that move? Just to the world, you know what I'm saying? And be like, nah, I'm gonna go, and do what God has called me to do. What would that look like? That took extreme faith, because Pharaoh could have killed Moses, but he was about that life. He was like, listen, you got to do whatever you got to do, but God is calling me to do this. So that's what I'm going to follow. Forget what you're talking about over here, but I'm going to go and do this. And this stems from his Mama G, being so bold and so faithful, to, not be afraid to follow whatever Pharaoh was talking about. Say, no, I'm going to keep my son. She didn't know that her son was going to lead these people. He lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Maybe, how? But I just think it's so amazing, man, when you read the stories of this faith. And not only do you read, the beginning of their faith, you read what happened as a result of their faith. We gotta be faithful, man. We have to be faithful. God is calling us to be faithful. You know what I'm saying? And then you're looking at stories of people, and that's what this Bible is. You go in and you see, how God used people. You see how, not only did he use them, but because of their faithfulness to him, that allowed him to use them. Because you look at Jonah, eventually Jonah got around to doing what God wanted him to do, but he ran for a little minute. Jonah was clearing it. He was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. So he ran. And all that does is further prolong what God is calling us to do. So eventually you're going to end up doing what God has called you to do. But why prolong it? Why prolong it? Be faithful from jump. And if you're faithful from jump, you don't know like what kind of doors, what kind of opportunities are going to be open for you to just really be impactful in your community and the lives of people. You don't know how many lives you're going to change. You just don't know until you're obedient and you're faithful. So let's, stop wasting time. Let's stop, struggling in our faith. We have examples here. We see what God was doing when people were so extremely faithful to him, and I really didn't think that I was going to go on this tangent because I am a talker. But, I just want to encourage you to just really be faithful to God and just watch how like doors and different things just open up, like stuff that you didn't even imagine, because we're thinking, oh man, if I'm faithful to God, this is going to happen. But we don't know when that thing skyrockets, and it's like, not only did this happen, but this happened times like 20,000. You know what I'm saying? God is so amazing. He is so amazing in his grace. He's so amazing in his love. He's so amazing in his faithfulness. So just trust in him. Try Jesus. Have faith. Man, and to wrap this video up, because I definitely don't want to take up too much of your time. I really wasn't expecting it to be this long, but I just want to encourage you throughout this week, for real, like real legit, encourage you to have faith in Jesus. Whatever that thing is, trust him with it. He created it. He don't need you in the driver's seat. Matter of fact, give him the keys. You go in the house. He don't have to fulfill his promises with you trying to help, because a lot of times we get in the way. But yeah, man, have faith in Jesus. Take care. Have a great week. Reach out to me. If you have some additional insight to this stuff, I welcome it all. And I definitely just, I will still be in prayer for you all, every heart that's out there listening to this thing, who gave me, these minutes of your time, because I know they're extremely valuable. I appreciate you. I love you. Jesus loves you. And, have a great week. All right.